Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Cathy Baumann and I am making another clarity video today, which it's been quite a while. So hello to everyone and anyone who enjoys my videos and my channel, and it's nice to be here again. And let's start today this aspect integration discussion with a nice deep breath. Together, everything we do, whatever question you have, my answer is going to be first, take a deep breath and become present and feel yourself in your body. Just feel. So, I wanted to talk a little bit about integrating aspects. Specifically, I'm going to call these childhood or younger versions of ourselves because they may be childhood, or it could be teens, 20s, 30s for some of us. And if you are on this path of expanding your awareness and your consciousness with me, then you know by now that so much of remembering who we truly are as a facet of source, of all that is, of consciousness, of God, of the universe, whatever you want to call it, that true eternal being that we are, has come into this form, forgotten, and perceived itself as separate many times. So, or you could say we perceived ourselves as separate, and then many times went into emotion, shock, fear, worry, concern, reaction, and split a little bit of our consciousness off. Perceivably, that moment, that part of us felt as though it was in terror, in a bad situation, you could say. It split off in fear. We'll call it ultimately fear. And so all this journey of awakening and remembering our true beingness beyond human form is really where we start recollecting all these little parts of us. And these aspects, as I'm calling them today, could be called memories, a lot of times trauma, like PTSD, traumatic memories, dimensions, because every time we've done this, we create a little dimension, a little memory, an aspect, a program, whatever you want to call it. So just to kind of do a quick overview for those of you watching, because I've learned really the last many years kind of watching so many different leaders, teachers, guides, even friends of mine that do the same type of work that I do. There's a lot of different words, and it all boils down to the same thing, really. So the words aren't so important. The important part is that as we choose to remember who I truly am, which is always going to be, well, first of all, presence, not form, this presence. And as we feel this presence, this even awareness of this awareness that we are, then we start recollecting more and more of our pure light, which really means that we are deconstructing all of the personalities, which is in all these memories, all of the little personas. So throughout our human life, we've had all these identities, all these aspects, be it a mom, a sister, an American, a girl, a neighbor, whatever, a sibling, child. And then we remember that we're truly none of those things. And each one of these aspects has been wearing a certain mask. You know, they have a certain belief about themselves, whether the conditioning was how you're supposed to act, how you're supposed to dress, what is good, what is bad behavior. things like that, we start seeing these things for what they are, all the habits and patterns, and then deconstructing it, seeing right through it, that it was never really true, just a belief that we created, a decision that we made about ourselves, maybe about the people around us, and about the world. And as we made these decisions with these beliefs, then we created these split parts with emotion. So we went, oh no, this is bad. And so the beliefs and the emotions, in the most extreme cases, created some pretty big aspects. And that's what we're talking about today. So take a deep breath with that. And the inspiration for today's video really was last Monday's call. Every other week I do a call. It's called Breathe and Feel. So I take us through relaxing, through the breath, relaxation, awareness, feeling your presence, and going into, we'll say, the kind of like theta brainwaves, into the subconscious, where we can start accessing not just the memories, but the emotions. As you access these areas of your subconscious, your multidimensionality, if you'd like to call it that, you can start, we'll say, clearing out the junk and feeling clearer, more lighter, more joyful, which is only your natural state. Because you, as creator, in your everyday life, you would only feel, really, for the most part, light, clear, expansive, joyful, radiant, if you judged nothing. And of course, enlightenment is the absence of judgment. Having zero judgment, zero emotional energy embodied, stuffed into your body due to the judgments, then you would be pure joy, with a few minor exceptions. So on our call Monday, we talked. Usually if you join the Breathe and Feels for about 15-20 minutes before we really get into it, we have a chat, and just everybody can share what's been going on for them, or if they have any questions or whatever. And so the topic that came up was about having these really difficult, sticky aspects. And somebody was sharing that, and I know that I've talked to this person, I don't know, maybe the last year or two, about the same kind of scenario, where there's certain aspects that are just like really not wanting to integrate, and she had been working with them for a while, and they're, we'll say, very resistant, to the point of it becoming a frustration. So I wanted to make a little video about that today, because, you know, a lot of folks deal with this, and we didn't have time to go into that on the call, because each Breathe and Feel is unique, and it's whatever is presenting for the whole group. As I open up to the consciousness, the energy just flows wherever it's meant to go. So the messages are really beautiful and incorporate really what's going on for everyone, with a lot of activations and clearing and recollecting more of us. So, aspects. Now, for myself, I'll just share, you know, I've really been very consciously integrating these aspects for, I guess, kind of the last decade, but the last 3 to 5 years, it's been more like, I'm very aware of what's there, and at times super clear on what's going on, and able to connect and see the energies behind them, where they started, and things like that. And a couple things that I've learned for myself with the difficult ones is where oftentimes, at one point, even when I didn't think there was any judgment of them, there was. So one example would be if you have, which most of us I would say probably everyone listening might have this to some extent, would be aspects that don't want to go out into the world, that feel like they want to shut down, want to close down, want to hide, feel insecure around people, feel maybe fear about the world, about the safety of going out into the world, whether it's that people are going to judge you or that they're going to harm you. So this is a common theme that goes for most of us back to early childhood, and then it's just sort of like woven through the very thread of all the aspects, all the personalities. And so it tends to be one of the deeper things to really get to the core of seeing all the components. And I like to explain that one aspect over here, there might be hundreds or thousands of little aspects that are related to it. So you have this one aspect that doesn't want to go out, wants to just hide away. Well, there could be hundreds of memories, thousands of times where things happened, where, it was so judged. Maybe it was abused. People were unkind. Could have been as a small child where you have no control over that, even going into all the school years, even going into everything else. So the important part with this is to be very patient and compassionate with these parts. And it's kind of funny because being patient and compassionate, we get to see what's happening and we seek to understand them. Now, that patience doesn't go on forever, so I want to just kind of rewrite that concept that it's all squishy, fluffy love. We start with this understanding, this patience, and this compassion, and I will add that just like if you've watched my videos, most everything comes down to your ability to be in presence, to be feeling and not thinking. So, for a lot of folks, they start that journey through meditation. It might be through chanting, through, vocal toning, anything that gets them present and feeling in the body, yoga, and not thinking, because we access this energy, information beyond the logical mind. So we're not trying to go and think and analyze what happened to me. None of this is done through analysis. It actually is done when you stop thinking, you relax, you go into your presence, into your breath, into your body, and you say, show me, show me, show me. And you just open up a doorway and say, what's going on here? You walk right into those dimensions, into those memories by consciously choosing. And the toughest ones, you might be, and this is where, this whole embodiment, there's no work. There is. If you know something is still triggering you, bothering you, holding you back, then it is your choice, your commitment, and your persistence to say, I know something's still here. I'm going to keep going into this until it's gone. And that's that. That is you as creator. Let there be light. All this gunk, all this density, whatever, fear, paranoia, upset, overwhelm, it's not me. So there is a certain amount of perseverance and persistence here that pays off. That, damn it, I know that I am that I am. And I'm going to keep stepping into that until every last bit of these soul fragments have been reclaimed, till they are fully home and I am feeling myself fully, wholly, completely content of and as myself. So the aspects that tend to be the most stubborn. I'll give you one example. Some years ago with that feeling of not wanting to go outside, I used to kind of joke with people because humor is a big element to this, that, every time I go walking outside, I feel like someone's going to jump out of the bushes and slap me. Just that feeling of like being unsafe walking down the street. and feeling like, the boogeyman is watching me or something. And it took me a long time to get to the root of that. And what I found were these aspects hiding, little children, or, there was one that was pretty strong. I think it was from Atlantis. And they were hiding off in caves or hiding under tables or under beds because they had been abused or, harmed or rejected, abandoned, betrayed, all of the above. So from going into, we'll say, frustration about it, or judging myself, which thankfully I've been very blessed the last, for sure since my Kundalini awakening, to never judge myself no matter what. So if you're still working through this stuff and you end up, hunkering down on the couch all day, it's important to just say, it is what it is. I'm just gonna accept myself fully no matter what, and to accept where you're at, period. But accepting where you're at doesn't mean you give up and you don't address the things that you know are there. You still fully accept yourself, and you keep walking in that direction that is going to continue your expansion and your enjoyment and your joy, which just comes from the inside out, from the full embodiment and integration of you, and expanding into more and more and more of bringing your creator consciousness through this body. So when I had these fearful aspects, it sort of was tripping me up a little bit, because I was like, well, I don't want to make this work. I shouldn't have to work on this. If I just breathe and feel and breathe and feel, stay in presence, I am pure light, stay out of the mind, this stuff will just all integrate on its own. So again, that was a great, it's a great skill, and something I highly encourage you to do if you are not there yet, to be able to stay in your breath, in your presence, without analyzing. Yet, once you're there, there are times where a little work is what's really going to best complement you. So as I really started to go in, and I will say, choosing, commanding, as a facet of creator, I know there's something here, I command this resolved. It is time for this to be resolved and completed, and I won't take no for an answer. That's that. This is my natural birthright to resolve all of this old energy, all that was created through the perception of separation, all this polarized, dualistic, heavy, gunky energy that I feel sometimes. It's not mine. It doesn't belong to me. I might have created it, so I'm not denying that. I'm taking responsibility for its creation and then saying, oh, I created you. Now I'm uncreating you. I identified with you. Now I remember who I am. You're not mine anymore. I'm divorcing you. Goodbye. So we decide this is no longer appropriate for me. I am love. I am light. And all this fear that I created, it's time to go. So now that some could look at that and say, okay, yeah, be gone. This is not mine. I don't want it. No. So what we do is we connect with it. We go into those memories, dimensions, aspects, whatever. And when we see it, we seek to understand. Well, why are you hiding here? Why don't you want to come out? What happened to you? Just like you would to a child of your own, to a friend of your own, a best friend. What's going on? Hey, what happened? I'm so sorry that you're hiding here. We show up with compassion, with love, with curiosity, and we get to the bottom of what it is. Now, for some that see more, great. For some that don't, great. It is truly the intent and the consciousness that you place there. So you don't necessarily have to get the story. You might just feel a release, okay? So don't think you have to see some big story or whatever. A lot of the time I would just get a knowing of this, and this, just in a millisecond, and be like, oh, that's what it was. Without any mental big details, just like a glimpse. Oh, okay, great. But the important part is that we're connecting. And if you're not clairaudient, like I've talked to some people that are like, well, I don't see as much as you see, or I don't hear as much as you hear or know. It's okay. You're going to see, hear, feel, and know exactly what you're supposed to. So any stories that your mind would run that maybe you don't hear, see, feel enough, that's just garbage. That would be the ego saying, oh, you can't do this, kind of the self-doubt. So once you go in and you feel, and the way you know you've got this is you feel a trigger. If something bothers you, oh, this person irritates me. Well, they don't irritate you as creator because nothing irritates you as creator. If you're feeling irritated, annoyed, frustrated, angry, upset, depressed, you know there is some aspects, energy, some construct that you created that is still carrying that. And that's not a knock. That's a beautiful thing. So when you feel it, go, oh, thank you. Thank you for showing me this. Because of course, you don't deserve to carry that around anymore. The whole world is waking up at a faster speed. We're at obviously the most amazing time to be alive on this planet, as the energies are more supportive than ever for you to just rocket right through this stuff. So when you feel it, you say, oh, cool, thanks, good. And you know that it's time for that to be finished, complete. The old paradigm, goodbye. So even if you don't have as much whatever visual or whatever, you don't know, you go in and you feel, and why? Well, why do I feel this way? Well, where is this coming from? Well, okay, so what if I go outside? What's going to happen? Okay, so somebody jumps out of the bushes and they slap me in the face. Okay, great. Well, so what? Like, I'm not this body and I'm not this mind. And if I'm not identified with this body, knowing that this is one of countless bodies as an eternal being, knowing that I never die, I've never been born, I never die, I'm eternal. This body is going to be born and it's going to perish, as every flower, as every tree. So if I'm not identified to the body, I'm not afraid of physical harm or death. So you as creator have no fear of physical harm or death. So we take these fears. Why? Well, what are you afraid of? Why? And then we neutralize the energy by going, okay, well, somebody slaps me. So what? Do you feel better now? You slapped my body? I'm probably going to shrug and keep walking. No reaction. Okay, whatever. Okay, whatever. Okay, whatever. You allow all that emotion to have no power over you anymore, because it has been having power not just over how you feel, your physical health, your joy, your vibrancy, your lightness, but most importantly, that fear barrier that you put up to other people, to the world, is a barrier that you put up to life, to creation, and to your own energy, to your own essence. So every time we put up barriers in fear, we are blocking out our true eternal beingness, which is unconditional love, which is the absence of fear. So you take it through this process of neutralizing. Okay, well, I'm eternal, so if the body gets whacked, great. I guess it's either time to go play elsewhere or pick up another body. Woohoo! So what? Why would I create an emotional reaction unless I was attached to the body, this life? And you as creator have no attachments. And of course, part of this would be that you have no control. So it is thy will to my creator self, because I don't get to have control over the outside world. Now, as you do this, you are rewriting your neural pathways. You're rewriting all the programs in your brain, in your body. You're rewriting your DNA. You are rewriting these aspects. So with the childhood aspects, the way I perceive this is they start to evolve with me, just like a past life aspect, just like another galactic maybe aspect, they start expanding with me. So one that was maybe so back to I'll go back to my example of the time when I saw this Atlantis aspect who was like withered, starving, a female hiding in a cave. Like she hadn't eaten for 6 months. I don't even know how she was alive. She kind of looked like she was half decomposed. Very, very interesting. Starved, like from hiding. And it was funny because months later or years, I don't know, I saw her again as this healthy, glowing aspect. It's like she was evolving with me. Now, some people say, oh, they don't evolve, they integrate. I don't know. This is how I see it. So it's not to say one is right or wrong. This is how I see it. I experience it. I've lived it. And a lot of what we see is our own perception, our own perspective. It's metaphoric in a way, because I see sometimes how these aspects that I encounter and I connect with aren't just one aspect. They're a composite of many aspects that some of them may have integrated, and then the overall energy of these, I'll call them identities, change. And they start growing with me. And the children that we connect with also, the ones that I would see hiding under, I don't know, a bed or something in terror, eventually they come out and then they're sitting next to me. They're starting to realize that I'm safe now because I'm not judging them. I'm not living in fear. I am the presence of unconditional love, of safety that they were seeking at the age of 2 or 3 or 4 that wasn't around from other humans. So I hope that gives you a little bit of some ideas, we'll call it some activations, some inspirations on the work you've been doing. Maybe you can incorporate some of that. I'll share one more tidbit here. The one story that comes to mind with somebody is going back to these aspects that are tough to integrate. So let's talk a little bit about childhood aspects. You know, when it comes to some of these younger aspects that we created, especially when we were really fearful, really unconscious, judging the world, just so identified with the body, you know, taking other people and the outside world, feeling threatened, you know, feeling the ego being threatened, the very personalities. It's amazing how much energy that we put into some of these constructs. And so they can be very difficult to budge at times, or perceivably, because they're not. But we're sort of working here on a human time frame where, to our true essence, you know, time is no big deal, and they're all dissolving. Everything truly is dissolving automatically. For everybody on the planet, we're all awakening. It's unstoppable. I mean, you couldn't stop the process now if you tried, if you're awake. But for a lot of us, it's like, let's get on with it and get on with the lives that we truly came here to live as, you know, that embodiment of our true fearless self with no shackles on. So the thing about the kids is, of course, we're going to do exactly what I said with them. Unconditional love, understanding, seeing where this came from. Okay, now let's not do that ad nauseum. So you get the feel for it, you understand it, and then the crucial point here again is not to judge, to understand. So we're going to see why they are at where they're at. So, okay, maybe there was abuse, for example, whether it's yelling, whether it's physical abuse, whether it's bullies on the playground, whether it's the parents, the siblings, whatever. This can be a rough world for a lot of us and a lot of folks my age. You know, when we were growing up, I was born in 75. You know, there weren't any no bully zones. It was sort of like survival of the fittest. So a lot of you might be able to relate to that. But So, oh, okay, so you were bullied, you were abused. I'm sorry. You have compassion and you let them know they're safe, blah, blah, blah. And even explaining, you know what? That's because I thought I was this body. I was confused. I listened to my parents. They were asleep. They were in fear and survival and fight mode, and I mimicked them. But now I remember I'm eternal. So I don't have to be identified with this body. So okay. Abuse? What's abuse? Oh, the body got abused. That's okay. When we drop the body, that's temporary. It's a temporary sensation. It's not eternal. I've never been harmed. I've never been abused. I've never felt pain. The body and the mind have. But once we realize that, we can actually release that to where you never really even feel those emotions again. There's many emotions that I don't really feel anymore. The heavier ones that I used to feel, they are virtually non-existent, or some are non-existent now in my experience of reality. So you realize it was just like watching a movie. It's just a temporary thing and it's done. And that it was created out of a misunderstanding, a hypnosis, a misinformation of the conditioning that we were born into. So we let that little aspect know you're safe now. You know what? You always were safe. We just forgot because you've always been here. Your light at the core, that creator that you are, is eternal. And then, so we say, no thanks to the fear. You know what? I don't need this fear anymore. I don't need to hunker down. I don't need to hide. I don't need to protect myself. I don't need to, I don't know what people do. They argue with other people or put other people down or try to be self-righteous because their ego wants to build up that false construct, right? Somebody, I don't know, calls you stupid. Oh no, you're stupid, because that ego part is trying to like rebuild and refortify itself. And that's just a false personality, a program that we're actually ideally letting dissolve, letting it die into that pure consciousness, that pure light that we are. So once we've done this with these children, this is the important part now. It's like, all right, I've seen everything. I've explained everything. Death, abuse, people mocking us, people blaming us, people judging us. So what? That's not true. That's all just their made up programs projecting at us. It means nothing about who I truly am. And I refuse to identify with any of it, period. And I sure as heck ain't gonna battle it or try to justify this or that or what, blah, 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 blah. It all becomes a bunch of blah, blah, blah. A bunch of clutter, mental clutter, identificational clutter, personality, blah, blah, blah. None of it, none of it has anything to do with who we truly are, because you're just pure consciousness, pure light, pure radiance. Again, not a girl, not a man. Not smart, not dumb, not fat, not skinny, not the body. Not, American or European, not even earthling. We're beyond all of that. We are pure essence. So there's no need to protect anything. Any concept about ourselves, our physical body, the thoughts that we think, our positions on the world. It just all becomes unimportant. It's all temporary. And from that space of knowing that, you can address all the aspects and say, yeah, we don't need this emotion anymore. Because that judgment, that decision, that belief that created you, it's just not true anymore. I just am. Back to that presence. I just am this presence. I'm undefinable. In fact, any definition or belief or judgment just minimizes my true eternal beingness, which is undefinable, unboxable, unexplainable. So we let all that go, and that's how we can then connect with whatever's going on and dissolve it, neutralize it. All right, now that we're in this place of awareness and we can neutralize everything, what happens once we've done that? And this is something I experienced for a lot of years. It's like, I know that I know, I am that I am, and I'm this pure awareness. And now all these children or incarnational aspects, whatever, they are still coming, and I'm feeling their energy, and they still don't want to, I don't know, they don't want to go out into the world, or they don't want to do this, or they don't want to do that, or they do want to do this because they're attached to something maybe. Most of mine were I don't want to things, but for some of you it might be like I want a boyfriend or a girlfriend, or I want more money, or I want to travel. All these wants, those would be aspects also. Unless it's a real pure thing from the heart with no need, just a pure calling that has no need about it, no lack about it. But so whether it's the I don't wannas or the I wannas, what happens when they keep coming and we've already resolved this? This is where it really is like raising children, because we're not going to go into reaction. We're not going to go into upset. We're not going to judge ourselves if we do or don't. We're not good or bad. We're right where we need to be, always doing exactly what we need to be doing. I guarantee you are. Awakening was the key. And now it's a little bit of a mastery dance. And there's just a lot of uniqueness for each of us. Like everything that I'm sharing, some of it is going to totally relate, and some of it you're going to be like, well, that doesn't relate to me because I have this different situation, and in this one case, it's different. There's so many things, and we're all doing this. Those of us who are, I'll call us forerunners, the ones who are just exploring this full awakening, full embodiment, dissolving all the old constructs, coming into that wholeness, that I am, that oneness that we are as a facet of all that is, as a clear, pure, integrated facet. We are exploring different ways of doing it, and most importantly, our own creativity within ourself, through ourself and of ourself, our creativity as creator. So there's going to be all sorts of variances and dances, and there is no book because it's not black and white. That's why we share these things with each other. And sometimes in this case, this would help me. In this case, this would help me. And it activates each other, and we're creating all these different blueprints for ways that we can transcend, dance with, and enjoy different things. So as these little ones keep at it, it's sort of like a child who wants attention, because this aspect that has been split off wants your light. It wants you to fortify it, to feed it, because it's dying off. Because now you've proclaimed, you know what, that was never really true about me. I created that under duress. I created that believing that I was this separate little thing and didn't remember I was creator. So this aspect is no longer valid. So you're basically letting them die off and integrate. So the emotional energy and the beliefs dissolve, and that pure light at the core comes home to you. But they don't want to die. They're still scared. They're still right where they were. And they're not just going to be like, oh, okay. Like, that would be sort of silly coming from where they're at. If they're really scared, if they've felt really betrayed, really hurt, really alone, they've got all that emotion. They're not just going to be like, oh, sure, let's just integrate. I'll take your word for it. No. It's going to take you some linear time for that energy to dissolve, for them to trust you, to start to see that you are the I am that you say you are, that you are the creator. It is the I am God also. Not I am God over everybody else. It is that I am the creator of my reality. And I consciously choose the thoughts, the actions, the perceptions, the perspectives. I choose unconditional love rather than fear, and joy and enjoyment. And of course, then these aspects start integrating faster and faster as you stay steady. You stay firm in your presence. You stay firm in the I am that I am. And when you come to that point that you never waver, you never, ever, ever go into, I don't know, oh no, I'm doing things wrong, or why is this happening, or I don't like life or the world. When you stop going into judgment completely, that's a game changer. And that is a conscious choice that we all make to say, you know what? I am that I am, and I'm never going to act as anything less. Now, once in a while, a word might pop out like, oh shit, wish that would, okay, whatever. No big deal, but you really stick with that. It just grows and grows and grows because it feels right. You feel the alignment. You feel that power of your presence. And of course, through all this, we're staying in presence, in the breath, and feeling throughout our everyday lives. Now, there's still going to be some sticky parts here where even with that, we have some little buggers, right? They're really pissed off. They're really scared. They're terrified. And I find a lot of folks who tend to go into sarcasm, anger with the world. Like some are outwardly angry and like, rah, rah, the world, the muggles, me. I thought the world was going to change. And some kind of like disguise that anger with sarcasm, oh yeah, life is great. It's great. But if you look through them to the core of what's really happening, quite often you'll see a terrified child. So you might find people that act really obnoxious at times, unkind or angry or rude or whatever. You might feel something deep inside of you that feels that way too. And you're like, wow, this is interesting. Usually those bits are just really extra terrified and they're doing their best to stay hidden. And one way to do that is to mask that with humor, sarcasm, like angry humor, or just flat out anger and push everybody away, or kind of judge people, put other people down. It's like they're constantly trying to push other people to a distance, even the ones who want to stay above other people and be like, I'm right, they're wrong. I don't know, my spirituality is the right way and that's the wrong way or whatever. Maybe it's religion, spirituality, the way they live, their political viewpoint. I'm up here, you're down there. I guarantee you, if you look through it, there's a terrified aspect that just wants to keep everybody at a distance, or it feels powerless and unworthy. So it's trying to be powerful. It's trying to be worthy. So it's great to have compassion for all involved. But for most of us, we have aspects of that nature to some degree. And there's a lot of tricks that the ego has used over time, God bless its heart, to disguise these things, to keep them hidden because they're terrified. So, when these aspects come around and they want your light, they want you to either fight with them, to judge them or judge yourself, basically the same thing, or to identify with them and go, oh yeah, rah, 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 that person, or I'm right, or I'm so great, or I suck so much, whatever story they want you to give your energy to put your consciousness in, which is just feeding it. Take a breath and don't go there. And just take a breath. And if you've already looked at these things, you've kind of got an idea, a feeling, we'll say, more of a feel of where they're coming from. You can feel the depth of where they're coming from. You're like, okay, I already saw this. Just don't give it any more energy. Go that route. Because they're starving and they're dying off. And as they starve, they're going to keep coming, rah, rah, rah. Please feed me, I'm dying. And that can come in all different creative ways. But it's sort of like a child. If you've ever raised kids, as I have, or maybe you've just been a kid or seen kids, it's like the kid who learns, if I throw my fork on the floor, somebody's going to pick it up. And they keep doing that, and you keep picking it up. And then it becomes a game. What else can I throw on the floor? And if mom and dad don't come and pick these things up, I'm going to cry. Oh, I can cry and get attention and energy from other people. Wow, there we go. There's the birthing of victim consciousness. I can cry and be a victim and people will come and give me their energy, right? It's really the same exact thing. So when these aspects come, whether they're crying, well, or they're raw, because it's just the same thing, it's the same coin, two different polarized ways of expressing, of manifesting, you just eventually you explain, which is you connecting and understanding with your aspects. You explain, hey, you know what? This is for eating. It's not a toy. If you throw it on the ground, you won't have a fork anymore. And then maybe you explain that 2 or 3 times because you have patience. And then after that, you don't explain anything. You might pick it up and say, all right, you already know, I've already told you, and you put it in the sink, and then you listen to the crying for a while. And then at the end, when you really pull the plug, there might be a lot of crying, trying that last little effort to get your attention, to like grasp onto you, to get you to come and to cave and to give in. So just like the babies. When you've already explained it and you've done everything you can do, that's when it's time to let it go and to not give it any energy and to stay in your presence, in your beingness. And when it comes back, you just don't go there. You don't interact. You don't act. You're not, I don't know, what do people say? Like stuffing your emotions. You're not, I can't think of the right word right now, but where it's like, you have to feel the emotion. You've already felt it. And when you're not feeding it, mentally, going into the story, going into this blah, 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 and this, and when you don't leave your body and go off into mental thinking, or take a lot of your energy and put it out here, when you stay here and this thing's coming, wanting you to feed its story, it's going to keep coming in, and it's going to dissolve into you. It's going to integrate, and you're going to feel it, okay? So you're going to be feeling instead of thinking. So it's kind of opposite. Sometimes people get, I think, a little bit tripped up there thinking, well, I don't want to deny my emotions. Then just feel. Don't think. Emotions have nothing to do with thinking a thought. When you don't go into the story mentally, when you don't answer it, when you don't think about it, when you don't feed it, when you don't grasp into it, when you just watch it, you stay back as the awareness that you are, and breathe and stay in your body, you're going to feel it. That's not denying the emotions. That's actually integrating them. Or you could say dissolving them. You're not integrating the emotions, you're disintegrating them. You're disintegrating them into pure light that is at the core. So you're disintegrating all of the overlays and all the emotional energies. You're just purifying it back to pure consciousness. So just one point I want to go back to and really integrate, really bring home, really make note of is, as we are understanding why these aspects were created, like you're hiding under here because of the abuse that's happening, and this was your only way to stay safe. As one example, you want to thank these aspects. You want to see the beauty, the wisdom. You want to see why they were doing what they did and that it actually served you in that moment. Now, if most of this was created as young children, for example, we didn't have a lot of say-so. It's not like at 3 years old you could just pack your bags and get your own apartment. So a lot of the shutting down, the closing down, the hiding was maybe if you spoke out loud and you really spoke your truth and you let your, say you let your parents and your siblings know how you really felt, you might have either been yelled at, slapped, who knows what. But we didn't have other options at that age. So it's so important that you see the wisdom in creating this. and that you thank them and you let them know that they did a great job, that they did based on their perception of who they were, what they were, and maybe even the physical quote limitations of being a child in the world, that you thank them, that you really truly see, realize, and feel the gratitude for that being created. And you can even take it a step further by recognizing in your life where it has helped you. If you were still, we'll say, unaware of who you are in your teens, your 20s, your 30s, whatever age, wow, then not having this conscious awareness, then it surely served you to hold on to these patterns. For example, you might not have been able to articulate things the way you can today. And so staying quiet may have served you to keep observing. You may have had all these misperceptions about life, that it served you to keep in these patterns to stay feeling safe. Maybe you became very identified with your title, your money, your bank account, your car, your physical body, because you didn't remember that you at the core, as pure consciousness creator, are always perfect. But that part of you felt so deeply imperfect, unloved, uncared for, unworthy, that all these external attachments helped you to feel a sense of importance, like you mattered, like you were good enough. So we want to thank all these aspects. Thank you. Thank you for creating this. Oh, I see why this was created. It really helped me to feel safe in the world. One example I'll share for myself was the hiding away. I mean, if you guys, a lot of you have commented, I have a video from years ago that I made about agoraphobia, where I couldn't leave my house, which was frustrating at the time. Like, I'm awake now, why can't I just go out in the world? But I came to see that the energies around that helped to keep me safe. Because at one point when I would go out in the world and interact with people a lot, I was carrying them. I believed the victim stories. I felt bad for people. I felt sad for people that were suffering, or the world, or oh my God, the oceans, the planet, because I didn't realize that all of this was an invented reality for experience, that form is only temporary, and that truly this isn't all that is. So hiding away really helped me to maintain my energy, to not be carrying the emotional burden for others in my life, for anything and anyone. So being a hermit at one point really served me so that I could stay somewhat healthy and whole within my energy, until I woke up and realized, wow, all that judgment was just created, and everything just is, and it's all temporary, and it's actually all in divine order. So instead of getting frustrated about these things, if it's like, gee, I should be beyond this or whatever, as I think we've all felt at times, we look at it and we go, wow, the key is to see how it benefited you, how it really, really served you many times throughout your life when it was created and beyond. And then again, coming back full circle to say, but now this is how I perceive reality. This isn't actually reality, this physical manifestation called Earth. What my eyes see as solid matter really isn't. It's not the true universal reality, right? Like, we are way so much more than this. So ultimately, as we get, I'll say, to the embodied state, where we are very much in our presence, in our beingness on a full-time basis, where we're not in reaction, we're aware of who we are 24/7, we never go unconscious anymore. For me, it was surprising to realize, wow, I'm still integrating some of these children. And so this aspect integration, whatever you want to call it, is so key. And it is something that we all go through in different ways. For the most part, I'll never say never, because you've heard stories like that of like Eckhart Tolle who just poof one day or whatever. But for most folks I know, after they even had what they called their enlightenment or realization, they were surprised to find, wow, there's still some beliefs here or some personalities that are having opinions, and that if I identify with these opinions, that will cause me some friction in how I feel. Oh, so somebody even asked me the other day about this whole concept of, oh, once it's done, it's done. And we laughed because it's like life is always in expansion and an exploration. So there will always be opportunities to challenge ourselves. And as we stay living here, knowing who we are in a world that is, we'll say the majority of humans now on the planet still are not aware of who they truly are. They don't remember coming to Earth, embodying, choosing this life or whatever, and how blessed that so many of us do. But the majority still doesn't and are very in their survival mode, right? So to be able to dance with all of life, with all people, and enjoy this whole planet, it does take, I've found, and I don't really expect this to end, a constant awareness, a constant desire, passion, willingness to learn, to grow, to learn different ways to dance, different ways to move, learn more about myself, and really choosing to experience more and more and more of who I truly am, because it just keeps growing and evolving. So there is no end. There's no like, I've reached the mountaintop. That's sort of a fallacy. So wherever you are at, thank you for joining me today. And just know that wherever you're at, if you found this video interesting, congratulations. You did what you dreamt of doing. Your biggest goal, your biggest dream in this life and beyond was to come here to forget and to wake up, and you did. So once that ball starts rolling, it's like it's kind of like an avalanche, you know? It's rolling downhill, picking up steam. You can't stop it. And so you have no worries in that regard. But I do encourage you to put that as the priority in your life, putting you first, putting you as number one. And the you is really remembering who you truly are, not like the ego, like, Murr. And I don't think anybody listening to this would be doing that, because that real you is your heart. It's unconditional love, and that love that starts with you first, of being true to yourself, being honest within yourself for your joy, your enjoyment, and of course, your ability to stay here and live here long term, enjoying life more than ever, and just we're finding out each day what this new life is truly like. So thank you again for joining me. If you enjoyed this video, maybe you want to join one of our breathe and feels. In that thing we do every other Monday night at 6 p.m. Central, you just can lay back and relax, or you can hop on in the first 15 minutes, have a chat. But I take us through a guided relaxation, breath, coming into presence, disengaging from time and space, and feeling just your pure awareness, that pure sensing that you are. And then we go into whatever topic. We might be integrating aspects consciously. We might be talking more about all sorts of things, but surely always feeling the presence, the love that you are, and being able to step more and more into that, turning the dial from those emotional constructs and feeling your presence expand through everything. And once a month we have a creators call, which is wonderful. And those of us on this journey, we come together to just share stories of things like I just shared, inspiration. It's more personal, a lot about what's going on in our lives and how our lives are changing and evolving, and the blessings oftentimes that seem like they come from things seem like they're going haywire, and then we find out, oh yeah, that was just me, the real me, my creator self. It's not like my creator self, me as creator, but the rest of myself that my conscious mind isn't always privy to, doing things to set my life up this way or that way, or ahas that we've had. So you're welcome to join us there as well. It's all on my website, cathybaumann.com, as well as other workshops and things like that. All right, thank you so much for joining me. Namaste.